Bit similar to standing on the flowing flag. It was really very shaking, undulating.
Welcome to Dhamma on the Sidewalk, insights, interviews, and practical tips on the teachings of the Buddha for people of all walks of life, attuning, exploring, integrating the teachings in everyday life. Simple Dhamma for daily life. I'm Asoka, hosting Dhamma Capsule for people like you.
Welcome to episode number 9. This time I wanted to leave some insights on being affected by tremors of an earthquake in Bangkok. So on Friday, 28th of March at 1:20 p.m., there were tremors, severe tremors in Bangkok following the earthquake in Myanmar around Mandalay of an intensity reaching between 7.7 and 8.2 on the Richter scale. Being affected doesn't necessarily mean being victim, obviously. It's just going through 5 minutes of severe shaking of a building and standing at the 36th floor was a bit similar to standing on the flowing flag. It was really very shaking and undulating. The next 4 hours, I've been experiencing dizziness. With a very calm mind, I was actually able to calm the body, maintain calm and precise and clear-cut thinking process regarding what to do, and especially as I had to travel the next morning. It was powerful. Span of 3 days, I've observed a number of phenomena. I'm going to share them one by one. From the point of view of the Dhamma, the first one that came to mind is that intuition is very key for discernment, considering that discernment key practice to reach wisdom in action. Intuition sharpens the mind, and it's good for one to look for ways to sharpen that skill through meditation and as well as grounding oneself. Grounding in the sense of looking inward, practicing calm abiding, shamatha, letting the thought distill, starting to look through the veil of that chaotic mind. And that helps maintaining the highest level of discernment. The body can enter a shock mode, such as during the earthquake, for instance, which manifested up till 3, 4 days, 5 days after. The body enters the survival mode instinctively. It's a fight or flight response, and it just goes into fight instinctively, regardless of anything. And in that case, when intuition is sharp, the mind will remain clear as crystal. Try it out.
If you're enjoying this episode, or if you've listened to other episodes and enjoy them and find them useful for your practice, we'd really appreciate you to just remember to subscribe or share these podcast conversations with someone who might be interested in them. That encourages us to continue these very humble, simple, down to earth, straight from the heart conversations, insights, and Dharma capsules. Thank you for being with us.
Anything can happen at any time, anywhere. One needs to accept that. Worrying won't make it smoother. It's called impermanence. While it was unsafe to do so, I returned upstairs on the 36th floor, helping a man who had injured himself falling down the emergency stairs. I knew the body was shaking and my mind was in mantra mode. I had a mantra and I was also breathing out heavily to calm down the beating of the body because the body was in a state of shock automatically. I was experiencing dizziness, loss of balance, heavy breathing due to the fact that I was actually going back into a building where we had no idea whether it was safe to do so or not. I put myself in this refuge mode. And for me, it was a mantra. Whether that works for you or not is different. But if there is a mantra, a soothing sound, something, let it come out. The body will transmute that as a frequency, as a healing frequency. It will help. These are moments where body and mind are really on a mode to work together, on a synergetic mode, especially because it's a survival. So the body knows about survival. It knows that. It has its own biophysiology to help make that function. In that moment, the body knows there's a threat to survival. I need to act. The body knows that, and it does what it needs to do. You need to calm the mind. These are some of the possibilities to do that. The other aspect is in a state of shock, the body needs water, a lot of water. When the body is in a state of stress, it requires water. Always make sure that to have provisions of water near you. Carry a bottle of water with you, find water, have water in your quick run bag. After an hour or so, if possible, the shocks will subside slowly, the body will require rest. And if there is anything that you can do it. You can help others, just do it. If you feel that the body can't take it, then don't do anything and learn that vulnerability can save you. So don't be a hero if you can't meet the demands. The human body is a living mechanism that is vulnerable. It's extremely vulnerable to anything, to fire, to air, to ground. That's also an important aspect. Then there will be people and friends around you who might send you their version of what you should do. For instance, I received a lot of messages, do this for stress, do that, or this. Did I ask for anything? If I asked, then okay, but I didn't ask, which means I wasn't actually even ready to start reading all and watching all sorts of videos and practices. I have my own, as a matter of fact. If someone doesn't ask for help, don't give. And you know who were the people who were the most, between brackets, helpful? Is those who said, listen, if you need anything, I'm here. You can contact me. I understand the situation is disruptive. That's it. Just knowing that is fine. And you know that that person will do whatever they can do to help you if you need. As a matter of fact, I didn't need anything. People love to send you their stuff. That is the sign of not being helpful, but rather overwhelmingly transmuting their own fear in helping others. So that is not compassion. That is kind of inaction, but it's not compassion. Just sink that in. Compassion is understanding that there is difficulty, suffering, or pain, and knowing what to do at the right moment. Throwing things like this, that is kind, but it's not needed. I have some big lessons from the deep grief of childbirth. Those who know how to ask questions are worthy of being next to you. And that is coming back to that persons who would ask you, if you need anything, I'm here. Let me know to support you. Let me know how I can best support you. That's the best question, the best statement someone close to you can do in those situations. Those who throw their stuff on you aren't compassionate. They are untrained to help others because shock is grief in process, and grief is personal. And the deeper the grief, the more personal it gets. It's almost as in interfering with that process. It's very kind. There's no doubt about that. But it's not compassionate. And it's not even empathic. Whether you're trained in mindfulness, samatha, and vipassana or not, learn to know your body. recognizing the tensions and the softness, the emotions. And in those moments, you will find it very helpful to be able to whisper to your body to calm down. The body will listen. It will run its course of fight or flight, and in this case of survival mode, it will run its course. But then breathing, knowing, recognizing the tensions, and recognizing what's going on, the body will listen. Learn, find your technique, find your path in that. It's always being part of my toolbox. And I've lived through conflicts, emergencies, earthquake, complex situations as well when you work as a humanitarian worker or simply as an even development worker in difficult situations. It will where you are alone, there's nobody, and there's conflict, there's problem at work, deadlines, and this a time where there was no internet. So you learn that it helps. But now there is even internet. But sitting, learning, taking calm moments, pausing, and finding the silence between two thoughts. These are part of your toolbox on a survival kit. And indeed, I was astounded as to how calm I was while the body was in shock. I did send a few posts around to let people know that I was all right, that there was no way to panic and not to fall in fear mongering. But essentially, I knew I was aware of how I was functioning. As a matter of fact, in my case, the next morning I was supposed to fly to a country where there were protests and they were about to blow up a fuel tank. Did I have double stress? No, I was actually ready to cancel the trip if I had to. Just ask questions, discern, and then flew out, and everything is fine. There were powerful eclipses occurring. Astronomic movements were happening in the sky on the 28th of March. And when eclipses occurred, things happened more forcefully. In those events, there were a number of other synergies as well. So it's been a very disrupting weekends in a way or another. Ancient knowledge to apply to modern living is not mumbo jumbo. It's really very important to acknowledge the existence of those forces. And there are forces out there that play and can play havoc. Earthquakes, we cannot avoid them. We can avoid a war. We can avoid a conflict. We can avoid a number of other, between brackets, human-made events and protests. We cannot avoid earthquakes. We cannot avoid tsunamis. We cannot avoid solar storms. We cannot avoid many other geological and astronomical things. So we have to be ready for that. It can happen anywhere, anytime. And if it's not at the epicenter of that, you might be, see, Bangkok stands about 1,000 kilometers away from that earthquake. So there are ways to listen, to learn to listen to alternative forces, not just that of the social media reels and other videos. For instance, in the case of Bangkok, there was one building that collapsed, and other buildings didn't collapse in Bangkok. There was so much of a throw it out there and instant so-called influencers and social blogger experts on everything out there at that moment. One building collapsed, it was under construction. And there was a bridge a few months ago, a few months earlier that had collapsed. Did you hear about that? No. Okay. So there are other forces at play, forces that we cannot avoid, and natural disasters and earthquakes are just exactly that. You have to acknowledge that. We we have so I spoke about the intuition earlier. My intuition had operated an alert. Just a few days earlier than Friday, I had questioned a possible evacuation from the building. Something I had rarely done in my entire life. Yes, I do check on airplanes where the exit is, but I just check just because you actually the planes are all the same. So the exits are here and there. But checking the emergency exit, I think on the Monday of that Friday, I actually checked where is the emergency exit in this building. Guess what? In that case, I was able to direct people on my floor towards that exit. They were walking completely other direction. After that, I felt dizzy for about 4 hours, and that's normal for the body in a situation of shock to requiring some time to adapt. And these things are normal. The current way of life has toned it down and made you believe that beauty and outer appearance and money and nice things and other things are essentials for living a life. Wellness is not in how much you are or how do you appear. Wellness is how well you can adapt to changing contingencies because everything around is constantly changing, including you. You might have forgotten that wearing the same shoes now you were wearing 20 years ago. You were taller. As a matter of fact, the very meaning of the name I was given by a Mahatero in Canada is unshakable. That's Asoka. It comes from the Mahamangala Sutta. I'm learning every day as well. It means leaving behind sorrow. Sorrow of what? Sorrow that things don't stay the same all the time. That's called anicca. In Pali, things change constantly. Learning to become unshakable to contingencies is a skill. And it is as well a skillful means to understand the impermanence of all things. All constructed phenomena are impermanent, and the difficulties that arise from not understanding this create suffering, pain, and further difficulties. Unshakability is not a lack of empathy, of compassion, rather an essential quality that expresses the awareness of knowing that humans are vulnerable to powerful natural forces and transmuting that realization of emptiness that all phenomena are constructed. Everything that is constructed is bound to change and disappear. Yes, just think about what's a constructed phenomena. A meeting is a constructed phenomenon. A table is a constructed phenomenon. A dinner table where you're having a nice Christmas dinner, it's a constructed phenomenon. So you can elaborate on that. Earthquake can come at the dinner table for Christmas. There's no Christmas dinner. But also, it's not just that can be destroyed, it just changes. The dinner table of Christmas dinner in 2001 might not look the same as the one on 2025. Different people, different items on the table. The next insight is you can't help others if you can't help yourself. Does anyone ever listen to emergency protocols on airplanes? I bet hardly anyone listens to that. But you know, the first time I listened to it is actually when I took my baby, 3 months old baby, on my lap on the first flight. And suddenly, it's not even that I listened, it's just popped up in my head. I said, oh, I have to take care of myself before I take care of her. For a mother, it's an essential skill. Because if the mother is not well, she can't take care of the baby. That means if you aren't in a position to help, don't help anyone. And just accept you can't help. And if you want and can help, then have empathy and learn to develop compassion. What can I do to help others? In a situation of shock, the body is not necessarily ready to help others. There are people who are trained, there are volunteers, there are other people, and not everyone reacts in the same way because not everyone is affected in the same way. Some people were in bed, some others were in a pool, some others were just walking. If you're walking on a road, you won't feel it as much as you're on the 36th floor of a building. So those who didn't were not affected can help, can give water to those who were affected. But if you feel that you can't, just don't do it. But once you're out of it, you can start focusing on how you can help others. Getting out of the cycle of overwhelming empathy is also something I want to point out at. Empathy can overwhelm. Why? Because you put yourself exactly in sensing the emotion of the other person, but you haven't experienced that same event. So you can take it on and on and on, but you're not necessarily helping that person to come out of it. You're actually maintaining the person in that same cycle. It's very good quality to have empathy. It's a gateway to compassion, but it's not sufficient. Empathy is being able to listen and understand the pain and the difficulties of another person. By losing that distance and feeling too much the proximity with the empathic cycle of thoughts of that person and emotional thought of that person, you get drawn into it and you're not helping the person to come out and see, okay, there's a way out of this situation. There's a way out of your, between brackets, big victimhood. You can come out of it. And that's where compassion comes in. It's good to learn and attend classes to learn how to integrate empathy and discern how you can help. How can you can transmute your own fear of death, for instance, your fear of danger, your disease into something helpful for others. Accept the vulnerability of human nature. We aren't superhumans. Another insight is that you understanding that you can't always rely on outer help. It's not guaranteed to have outer help. So understanding that makes you plan ahead with calm and a composed mind if you understand that you will always be able to face dangers and impermanence at its face. When you get out in the street and you come out of your house, you could be hit by a car, right? You might be alone on the road. There's nobody to help. What are you going to do? So the vulnerability is there. What is important is to learn to remain calm with a composed mind. So I also suggest to listen to Mathieu Ricard. Gelong Mathieu Ricard he's been known to study neuroscience as well, and you can check TED Talks on YouTube where he speaks about this dialectic, I would say, between empathy and compassion. And being a Buddhist monk as well, he will speak a lot about compassion, but he also is going to, he's also been testing the brain and the mind on empathy and the brain and the mind on compassion. And the results are outstanding. So go and listen to him. So he speaks about compassion as the ultimate quality to be developed to function as an optimal human. After a few days, if the shock is just what it has been, there will be the need to nourish, nourishing the mind and nourishing the body in particular. And healing takes time. It's like salt in the water. After the water was agitated, it will take some time for the salt and sand and sugar, or whatever you put, or soil that you put in the water, to return to base. Likewise, the body, being an energy body, composed of essential five elements, water, solid and non-solid minerals, electricity, and gas, it will take time to return to balance. And you can't force it, especially after shocks. So this is why there is a scale in PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. There's a scale of intensity. And acknowledge that you are in a state of shock. You can say it to a friend who wants to help. You said, I'm in a state of shock. I can't reply right now. That's very aware. That's very good to do that. And then healing will take its course. And if you learn to you're attuned to how to listen to your body and have your mind whispering to the body to tell me what it is that you need. Tell me what it is that you need right now to restore the balance. Healing will take time. It has its own length, it has its own intensity, and for people it will be a little longer than others. And it's important to let the process take its course and learn from that. What the body likes, how it's feeling more comfortable, what makes the body feeling needing ease right now. Avoid working out, avoid non-nourishing foods and liquids, learn breathing techniques, or tap in any resources that distract you from the fear mongering. It's critical, it's essential, it's important, and I will never tire to repeat it. It's really important. Whatever feels good in the next few days after a shock, do it without falling into the extreme of junk food and alcohol and things. It's important at that moment the body needs to restore its balance. Then you can operate in a normal way. And it will take time. For some people it's 3 days. For instance, I felt dizzy, fully dizzy, and loss of balance for about 4 days. And now I'm okay. It's been a week. Now I can function normally. In the first few days, I had lots of pain in the knees and pain in the muscles of the legs, for instance, because the body in survival mode needed some of the muscles had to function uh, high intensity, very quick for a very short time for me to be able to walk in the corridor of the building, not to fall on either side. So that's been shock. So nourishing the body, maybe go for a massage or just be gentle, be very gentle, because there will be aftershocks. After earthquakes, there are always aftershocks. So you'll feel that loss of balance for a few days. It's normal. Then, in the age of social media, la la land, and so called instant influencer and self instructed blogger expert, and all the press button generation, they will all have these post sensational videos. And let me tell you how nice and sensational and give you an idea what you have just been experiencing. They don't help. They really don't help at all. These are people who have no sense of them and that and the others. They just go, hey, look, I'm in an earthquake. Like if it was, the latest entertainment thing. Press button, press button. It doesn't work like that. It's important to detach and nourish the body and mind once you're safe. That those around you are also safe. And if you're not a volunteer or an essential worker, you can relax and take time. Disasters and events of catastrophic dimensions have always occurred and will continue to do so. It is life as it unfolds. It is absolutely normal. There are no outer forces or conspiracies about this. It just as it is. And fear won't help. So again and again, I'm not tiring to repeating this. Learn to know yourself. Learn breathing techniques. Learn calming down techniques. Learn something about you. And learn to detach from the fear mongering. Learn to transmute fear into acceptance of impermanence. Learn discernment between the essential and the superficial. Learn your habitual tendencies and how to change them. Choose your method. Choose whichever works for you, whatever works for you. I got mine. The Buddha's teachings have been with me since the 80s around the world and have saved me. I guarantee you, they have saved me from complex situations as a humanitarian worker as well as a mother in grief. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the Buddha's teaching. I wouldn't be alive. I wouldn't have this energy that I regained, and many other things. There is always someone who suffers more than you, and slowly become aware of this. I rarely speak about myself, but I'm just telling you, even as a mother who's experienced the death of her child 2 days before, I was feeling compassion for mothers who'd lost their child in conflict through bullets, bombs. Do you realize that? Because they suffered more than me. They had no closure. I had closure. I didn't call it closure at that moment because just the word closure would just send me in a deep weeping moment. But what I'm meaning here is there's always someone who suffers more than you. Just sink that in for a moment. All your problems, all your sense of self, all your sense of it's stronger for me. No, all that disappears, and that's the road to compassion. If you can't accept it, you are going to have little issues with impermanence. You're going to have little issues to be an optimal human. Really, just let that thing sink a bit. Nourish the body with nourishing food and liquids, and become aware of your eating habits. So everything, there's gratitude about this almost. There's gratitude about having lived these moments. Obviously, when you are in a survival mode and then you realize, oh, not, it wasn't that bad. Come on, it wasn't that bad. Okay? It was disrupting, but it wasn't that bad. So take these events as awareness rising, not as more fear rising, because life is as it is. It is like this. It's like this. Famous quote by Luang Por Sumedho of the Thai forest tradition. It's like this. It unfolds like this. It's normal. Ancient knowledge for modern living also shows us and points to something very important here. Do not take for granted the appearances of the perfection that our lifestyles has mainstreamed. Greed, hatred, and delusions remain powerful poisons, staining the way of lives of millions. It's sad. I personally feel sad when I hear people that they're very, very, very concerned about their phones, about not being able to have dinner on their preferred sofa that evening, or that, oh my, I'm not going to look that good anymore. I'm going to be stressed and I'm going to put on weight, or I have no idea. Just let that be, please. But it's okay. Our lifestyle has covered up all those essentials, and then at in one go, and just in one 5 to 5 minutes, life shows you that hello, it's not all like that. The building might just not look that good. It might be safe, but it doesn't look as good as there are cracks in the buildings. It's safe to live in. How sad I feel for people who can't realize that. Yeah, it disrupts. You have to go and live somewhere else for some time. So learn that, really learn the impermanence of things, and learn that not everything that you see as gold is actually gold. Second, do not fall in conspiracies. There is a samsara. Nobody has made the earth shake. The earth shakes because it has to shake. So there is samsara, and it is filled with constructed phenomena. Those constructed phenomena are impermanent. Take it, swallow it, embrace it, acknowledge it, and put yourself in learning mode. Transmute your own fears and be at peace. Find your technique, find your community circle, find your way of doing it. Just do it, because that's how it is. Refusing or avoiding, not acknowledging impermanence of constructed phenomena will only create more not quite rightness, which is also called dukkha, or pain, or suffering. So step by step, find your way to detach from the illusion of perfection of constructed phenomena, because there is a way out of the inferno of our own mind. It's constantly creating scenarios. There is a way out of that. How? Investigate, observe your habitual tendencies. How? Most of the time, all the sages will tell you sit down in silence for a moment. Review what it is that you're doing. Review what you do before you eat. And here, I just want to tell you one little thing, an experiential technique that I've used. This about 20 years ago. I have been smoking cigarettes for a long while. And in one day, waking up, coughing, and I said, no, this is not possible. I'm constantly coughing. Every 2 weeks or so, I have cough for 2, 3 days. That's not possible. Let's get rid of all those cigarettes. Let's stop smoking. I went through a bit, and the second day of non-smoking, the body was shaking, literally shaking. It was in withdraw, was giving signs of withdrawal symptoms. And I took a whiteboard and a pen, and I started walking, so sort of walking meditation on my apartment with a pen in my hand. And every time I passed in front of the whiteboard, I was writing down something. On the one side, there was a column where, spending money, the cost of cigarettes, the always the fear of not having cigarettes at home. Like one day I was in a coup. I experienced a coup in a country where I was working. After coming home, I said, "Oh my gosh, I don't have cigarettes." And I rushed out and get cigarettes for a week because I didn't know how long the coup was going to last. So I put that on one side, the fear of lack. And on the other side, I said all the advantages of not smoking, having white teeth, and I started, I started to keep that whiteboard there for the longest while. I think it stayed there for about 2, 3 months. And every time I had ideas, noticing things. And one of the things I have noticed was while going back to work, while going to work, is that I had made a habit of smoking before writing a document because, it was part of my thinking process. And I realized, that isn't there. So breathing technique to actually start focusing. And slowly, slowly, I started to decode, chunk down that habitual tendencies of smoking and craving, and chuck it down, chuck it down, chuck it down, chuck it down until it disappeared. It is said that smoking is addictive. So I had to actually battle somehow. There's a physiology that was changing inside, and I had to teach the body to, go against the waves of that. And it was quite an interesting process. Investigate any habitual tendencies, any of our habits, and check them. Is it essential? Is it superficial? Is it good? Is it something that is a part of a growth process, or is it something that diminishes qualities? You can do that for yourself. If you look at the Buddha's teaching, the Buddha's teachings are all about that, because in those habitual tendencies lies the seed of karma, right? And he didn't teach anything, he didn't prophesize anything. He just pointed the way to your mind, because that is where it all starts and that is where it all ends. Constructed phenomena will make you believe it all is there to stay, but it isn't. So slowly, slowly become aware from that illusion, become aware of that illusion that nourishes your habitual tendencies, and start transforming the reality in which you live. It becomes simpler to live like that. Certain times are not easy in life, and when there are natural disasters, even more so. It is only when we transmute the habitual tendencies that the way out will pave the freedom towards the causes and conditions that binds the illusion of perfection of the constructed phenomena. So in that transmuting the habitual tendencies, in that way of becoming aware of the habitual tendencies and the capacities to transform them, that is where we plant the seed to pave the way out and freeing the causes and conditions that actually recreate and bind together the illusion of the perfection of conditioned phenomena. You understand that? You understand almost everything. Everything is made of causes and conditions, and they are bind together with the illusion of perfection. If you break that down, if you shut it, that you realize that your habitual tendency is exactly the one that reproduces those causes and conditions. So free yourself from that, and then karma will change. The Buddha taught not quite rightness and the way out of not quite rightness. That road isn't smooth. It isn't by focusing on the positive that you will transform the negative. Now, that doesn't work like that. It's very dualistic explanation, but it doesn't work like that. You will only transform the negative into positive if you accept to see your flows, your fears, your tendencies, your emotions, and become aware of how you function and transmute that, transform that. And then there's a way out. There is a way out of that not quite rightness. So find the middle way between in the things that you do. Let's say you buy a new device. Okay? You buy a new device. You pay quite a substantive amount of money for that device. And then you say, I need to buy a cover for that device because, it needs a cover to transport it. Oh, that's so expensive. That little thing made of plastic or silicone is so expensive. I said, hello, you're just holding in your hand a very expensive device. Just put that in together. It comes together with the device. So what is that? Is the mind is trying to trick you not to see the fact that you have already accepted to spend quite a bit of money. So add a little bit and you have exactly what you need. Or just don't buy a new phone. Just buy an old one. Put your old cover in it. Trying to give very simple examples to actually say there is a way out to see the own little things that make you think that reality is just like that. It's full of little, um, you know, uh, perfect things. No, no, doesn't work like that. So life become a little much simpler, and then the karma starts to change, and you can realize that certain things don't happen to you anymore. you know. So take that in, that the Buddha taught not quite rightness and the way out of not quite rightness. Right? He didn't teach suffering because Buddhism becomes a depressing teaching. No, no, no. He said, look around. People are constantly complaining about something because there is that. There's a like, dislike, and neutral. So try to find a little bit of neutrality. It's good. Some people find it very easy to be neutral in political opinions because, that would that would just create too many uh, conservative views or radical views. And yet, when it comes to certain things, or because of confidential uh, work duties, but when it comes to simple things, suddenly they can't be neutral anymore. They have likes and there is likes and dislike. Why? Why is that? Certain things make us more comfortable than others. Having a good meal is always better than having a not good meal. I fully agree with that. But if the meal is exactly what you have today, that's a meal. And if you had a capacity to choose, then fine. But if you don't have that capacity, then don't do it. And don't insist of having it your own way. Just accept a bit. The winding road towards resilience isn't smooth. It, it shows you exactly what you need to see. The uniqueness of the Dhamma. This is a quote from Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche of the Nyingma School of Buddhism. Other than the Dhamma, we cannot find teachings that express a complete understanding of our own innate mind, how our confusions begin, and ultimate how it ends. Sink that in. Nothing is there to stay as it is. As a matter of fact, I think I said that earlier, you aren't the same body you were when you were 10. I assume you are taller, probably fatter, or skinnier, and not wearing the same shoes you did back then, right? Maybe you're not even like broccoli anymore and you like them 10 years ago. So we change a lot. And we tend to forget easily about that because the mind changes as well. Just think about it, review a bit your life and not seeing the fact that there is constant change in life and even in constructed phenomena. That is an illusion that takes you away, far, far away from the raw reality. Becoming aware of impermanence isn't pessimistic. It is actually rather super realistic. What can you do about it? Become aware. Accept it that there is impermanence. Learn to accept the impermanent nature of what is. Learn to moderate your emotions. Gain clarity of mind. Learn to accept the vulnerability of the human conditions to natural disasters. Keep a close look to your emotions. Learn to transcend them and transmute them in wise actions for yourself. Learn and nourish the body and the mind with calm abiding. Take a course, find your own path, something that soothes your own body mind, and take it. Once you take it, that's it. Crisis will always happen. What can we do? Unless you're in a position of power, you not really can't do much. Yeah, you can go and protest, but even that, what can you do? It's sometimes necessary to protest, but you really have to be really very much into a bad situation for the protest to actually function. It really has to come to a a cutting edge of change, and that doesn't always happen. But certainly, worrying and being fearful doesn't help. It actually replicates the cycle of biophysiological stress, and that stress then cycles back into the mind as a loophole. So, if you can do something, do it. If you can't do, just adapt. You can also, for crisis, it's a good idea to prepare a quick run bag. In emergency situations, when we work in the field, we prepare a quick run bag. That quick run bag has essentials, and it definitely has the passports and essentials in that sense. These days, you also need a battery charger, your hard disk with your data and whatever your files, and your some charging cables. You need that. It's good to put, if you don't prepare the quick run back, at least know where these things are and you can grab them very easily. But if you have them nicely displayed somewhere, and then it's going to be difficult. You might not have the time to collect them all and grab. So in that moment of the earthquake, I had to go back upstairs to grab my luggage and a few. I hadn't finished my luggage, so I grabbed one or two things. I had the first thing I grabbed when I went downstairs the first time was water and my pouch with all my monies and cables, battery, and passports. I knew where it was. It's always in the same spot. It's always in the same bag. It's not about being fearful. It's just about being extremely clear and prepared. Something really happens, you might lose things. It's certain that you might lose things, but you might not lose your life. And that is prime. Sink in the fact that there is impermanence in constructed phenomena, that there is not quite rightness from understanding that. It's just not easy to say, okay, yeah, I think these things can finish one day or another. It's not easy to actually accept that. So for some people it's extreme, and for others it's as in little things. Their life is very smooth, but then they lose the house keys and the whole world overturns. Fine. If that is what is it for their life, they're lucky. It's a very small event. But the Buddha also said the tale of Kisa Gotami, the mother who runs to the Buddha, who's running crazy in the village with a dead baby in her hand, in her arms. And the villagers said, go to the Buddha, he might have a solution for you. And she went to the Buddha with the Buddha and said, can you please do something? Can you please make my baby alive again? Can you do a miracle? And he said, yes, of course I can. So what do I have to do? Go to all the houses in the village where you come from and bring me some mustard seeds from a household that hasn't experienced suffering. And she runs back and she goes and comes back empty-handed. And he said, you see, everyone has experienced death or impermanence and suffering in their life. Everyone, every household has. So don't drown yourself in sorrow and pain. So how do you do that? By understanding and accepting. So some people is a key house, some people is a child, but it still is impermanence. Now that, and second, understand that all the constructed phenomena are bound to change, and that the outer appearance of things are not there to stay. They are just superficial. They are not the essentials. So learn to detach from that. Don't fall into greed, hatred, and delusion. As much as the reality as impermanence of constructed phenomena, don't fall into those poisons. Realize that attachments create tensions and learn the way out to let go, live light and fearlessly. I functioned like a nun in disguise, and I'm sending you these insights with love and compassion, because really I've gained a lot of wisdom in understanding this through the hardships, as well as through this minor difficulty eventually of living the shocks of the tremors of the earthquake in Bangkok. I wish you well. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be contented with all that you have. Thank you for being with us.